Hello, my dotlings, and welcome to another shameless self-promotion right here in Madame Tortuga's lounge, where you can hear from all the energetic influencers, metaphysical merchants, and spiritual entrepreneurs talk about everything from their services they're providing to the community they're building. If you like the show, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave us some positive feedback. And if you like the show a whole lot, then come and check me out on Patreon, where you can hear the full episode. Let's get started. Hello, my dotlings. So, let me explain some things are going on. As you all know, that I had left Mystic PC, who was running the live streams before, so we've completely changed the format for shameless self-promotion. They will be coming out more regularly than they have been, but also there's things and stuff. If you look around my social media, it is in a constant ebb and flux, as it were, as it has been, and as it shall be. But I do think that we are getting back on track. Let me know what you think of this new format. I really like it. I probably am going to be editing a little differently from now on. This was the first time, and I would like to thank Mr. Morgan for being so patient with me. I appreciate it so much. I really do. It reminds me why I love the pagan community. So I do hope that you will check out his stuff, and hopefully we can be a little bit more regular around here. Tonight's guest, Mr. Morgan here, had actually had me on his show before, and now I would like to give him a chance to speak to you guys and tell you a little bit about what he's about. So let's hear it.
Well, thank you. Hi, I'm Morgan Hornman. I have been in the pagan community since the mid-90s. I've been organizing events and festivals since 99, 98. And I have a place called Faywood Grove that I host events at. And I have a coven that we do live streaming events on. And I do a lot of stuff in the service of Pan.
I love it. Tell us a little bit more. I want to start with the YouTube channel, because you had me on your YouTube channel and I am addicted to my own image.
I understand. I have a couple of YouTube channels, actually. So the one I had you on was Grove of the Gods. It's a kind of a pagan variety show. I do interviews as well as discuss various topics, holidays, have theme shows. At some point, I'm going to be doing some traveling, going around to festivals so that people can see, oh, if I ever made it to Starwood, what it would be like. Or if I ever made it to Elffest, what it would be like. Or if I ever made it to Feast of the Horn God, what would it be like? And share that experience with people so they can see what it is that they can get by coming out, and the kind of folks that they can meet, the interesting folks that are out there at the events and stuff, as well as go into the communities and do a walkthrough on stores, show up at some of the events, some of the public circles, share that information, distribute paganism in a healthy content matter, whether it be educational or just our lifestyle and the things that we do on a daily basis. Those are all things that are very misunderrepresented, and they're all things that I'm working to show and talk about on Grove of the Gods. So
you know what? That seems to be something I'm seeing a lot more of. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
That does seem to be something I'm seeing a lot more of. I'm kind of glad to hear that you might be going out and doing vlogs. You know, we love vlogs on this channel. And there's definitely a place for them, because I remember the first time I went to a pagan festival, I had absolutely no idea what to expect. I found myself at like this clothing optional spiritual retreat, and everybody's like on their own spiritual path, and I'd never been around that many other pagans before, and it blew my mind.
That's a lot to be immersed in, and it's scary. And this way you kind of have an idea of what you might actually be biting off that you're going to try and chew on, because there's just a lot out there in the community. We have a lot of curiosity and we have a lot of anxiety.
I agree.
Honestly, there's a lot of anxiety, and we don't know how we'll be accepted even within our own community because we've been outcast in so many others. And so it's kind of hard for us to step up sometimes and take that first adventurous step. And I want to help try and smooth that out and not make it quite as anxiety ridden. So
I appreciate that because I got to tell you, it's a wild trip because I do know what you mean by the isolation, definitely. Because I think we've all experienced that to a little bit. Like in your day to day life, you can't really talk about it unless you have an outlet like this. Like a lot of the pagan prides, they're single day events, but that's still different from like the camping events or the other events. Like pagan pride, usually like one day, almost
yeah,
like a
yeah.
cell.
Right. And so a pagan pride day or a one-day event is way more specific. It's almost faster paced.
More structured.
As it's a lot more structured, yeah. And you get up, you go have breakfast, you go do the thing. By the time the thing's done, you go have dinner and you go home. Well, or they can be extended, but overall, there's a difference when you're camping next door to somebody, when you're in a tent 10 foot away from somebody you've never met who has some stuff that smells really good, and they invite you over for some smoked ribs. And it's just there's an entirely different mentality. It's
more community building because, like, you know, by the end of that week, you're like buddies.
Yeah. It's new family. It's establishing new family and sharing common experience bonding that isn't traumatic, which is incredibly important because it's shared happy moments that aren't because you're having to work all day at work together and you do this every day for blah, blah, blah. It's an entirely different kind of a bonding experience because one, you're presenting yourself as a different person. And I don't mean that as in Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde or anything. What I mean is you're able to let your guard down. You're able to be more of yourself and not worry so much about the ramifications of
wearing your pentagram.
Right. The fact that what t-shirts you're wearing, what earrings you're wearing, if you're wearing a pentagram, what kind of rings you got. I mean, there's all kinds of
at all.
Right. And that's an entirely different mindset that is experienced. Explaining clothing optional events to someone is really kind of difficult, but you got to help them realize and remember that look people in the eyes, it doesn't matter. Going to festivals is a very different experience. There's so many new experiences, there's different types of people, there's different types of paths. People are doing their own thing at each campsite. So you've got some people over here just hanging out, just kind of sitting around a campfire talking. Somebody's playing guitar, maybe. It's a very typical hippie scene. And another place, a bunch of people playing cards because they brought Magic Gathering with them. That's pagans. That's who we are. We are a wide gamut of people. A lot of us game.
There's definitely a healthy cross section across pretty much everybody.
There really is. There really is. And then there's drumming and dance and music, and there's whole forms of expression that a lot of people find a place where they eventually feel comfortable enough to unleash and unwind themselves around total strangers. And they're able to dance and sing and feel joy and show joy. And it is so shot down in our society. I mean, I'm part of an entire generation that was told not to feel anything. Because if we did feel something, we'd learn what we really needed to feel. They'd give us something to feel about.
Yeah.
And that's a horrifying thing. But being able to share an open emotion with people is an amazing thing.
It's very cathartic.
It is.
Like, I think it's funny because I have referred to occultism in general as self-help for weirdos many a time.
It's true
But
story.
honestly, most of the people I know that have come to this path that weren't either, like, I have met a few that were multi-generational, but
Yeah.
most of us are like first generation still. And almost everybody I know who is first generation has come in some way because they needed a healing
Right.
that they were not getting from where they were before.
Right. Well, and our path is bent towards healing. It's made for shadow work. It's made for advancing emotionally and spiritually and mentally and working through those things. And it's almost built specifically for that. So it makes sense that people that need to heal end up here and work their way through their rituals where they're reborn and they write the letter to the person that they needed to from their childhood and they burn that bad boy and they do a dance around it and let that shit go. And it's cathartic and it's emotional and it's healing and it's a beautiful thing.
I 100% agree. It can be, because I've seen some like pretty ecstatic devotions kind of, people get very into it. That emotional release.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more. I definitely love the vlog idea. That's kind of how we got down this tangent. But tell me a little bit more about whatever it is you're about to try and tell me.
I have another channel.
Tell me about your other channel.
Sorry. I always got more.
I understand. Trust me. I put together my website like as we speak. So I understand having
a lot going on. So I also have a channel called The Morgan Hornman Show on YouTube and on Facebook, and Grove of the Gods is on both as well. And The Morgan Hornman Show is more based on working a spiritual path, looking at the steps you have to take, the ways you have to look at things, things like how to manifest. How are you spending your energy? What are you getting back from your energy? What is it that you want to do with your energy? How is it you want to change? And looking at building ways and pathways to create and manifest those changes in yourself.
I like that.
And it's about me sharing my path and the spiritual aspect of it and the things that I go through and things like learning to self-acceptance. I have a 25-minute episode on self-acceptance because it's something that I have an issue with, as well as acceptance of the past, things that happened that I'm not always okay with letting go of. I don't want to forgive you. I still hurt. Well, that's a real thing, and it's part of our path. And learning how to deal with that and working through those things. And so far I've got, I think, 27 episodes, and it's different steps and energy and acceptance, a little bit of ethics in there. There's just all kinds of good stuff to help push you through. And then I'm also on, Morgan Hornman is also on TikTok, and those are all minute long, and they're a little easier to bite, a little easier to consume easily and fast. But I put together a series on TikToks as well. And it's all about that manifestation. It's all about that working through. And because the other thing about paganism is that a majority of people who are pagans focus highly on the magic. They focus on the spell casting. They focus on the rituals. They focus on the really cool stuff that's bright and glitzy. But there's this whole base that's needed where you're dealing with those issues and facing your shadows and looking at how you interact with the world that needs addressed as you build that exact same path. Because if you don't have those stones to stand on your path, you end up walking through mud.
You know, that's a pretty good analogy. We stand shadow work here.
Yeah.
A big fan of Carl Jung, especially with the dream interpretation and all that.
Right on. Yeah.
That's
There's a lot of power there. There's a lot of self-claiming power there.
I agree. I need to go back and watch. You know, one of these days, folks, I will learn to actually watch people's stuff or read their books before I have them on. I just find these really cool people that are doing really cool things and go with it.
It's all good.
But
It's all good.
yeah.
So then I have another channel that's Faywood Grove that you probably wanted to ask me about.
Tell me about Faywood Grove. That's okay. So we're up to 3 now. How many more do we got?
Tribe of Sobo, which is the Streaming Coven channel.
Okay.
And those are all the pagan ones.
Is
Those
there
are all
a
the
hub
pagan
where
ones.
we can find all these?
If you go to Morgan Hornman Show on Facebook, I cross promote everything. Same with Grove of the Gods. And then Faywood Grove is my home and where I run the events. And so what I've done is I've put together a channel with updates and some of the stuff we do out here to do the construction, because there's a lot of things that you wouldn't think about that go into making a place if you're going to try and host 200 people for a weekend or for a week. I'm not doing a week. I'm doing weekends. But there's a lot that goes in. I'm sorry?
They said, I understand.
Yeah, no, I know, and I ain't doing that long. But there's a lot that goes into that, and we have a nature sanctuary / church here, and that's part of Tribe of Silvo because we're in the process of trying to incorporate for and get recognized by the IRS for our church status. And we have currently we are up to 17 shrines, I think, for various gods that we maintain, and we have altars for. We make offerings to some of them. The idea is to provide a place where everyone can come worship and can connect with their gods, and maybe even on the off opportunity meet some of the other followers of those gods.
That's cool.
And so it's spread throughout. We have 20 acres here, and it's spread throughout our property. And we've put in, I've got 3 fire pit areas, totaling about an acre of open land devoted to fire and spinning and dancing and drumming. I've got some sacred pits. I've got shrines too. Let's go through. Pan, because he's first in my book. Then Dionysus, Hecate, Athena, Hermes, Aphrodite, Gaia, Demeter, Hades, Persephone, Epona, I get lost sometimes. Caradwin, Inanna, Brigide. There's more. I just can't remember them right now.
So find Morgan Hornman on Facebook to find out the full list later.
Yeah, we got everything. We'll have it in my description for the thing so that we've got all that. We've got a lot going on so that people have the ability to connect, because so many places have 1 or 2 shrines, 4 or 5 if you're lucky. And the idea here is to worship all the gods and to share that worship with each other. And that's really what we're going for here, is sharing that joy and that satori. We'll go with a better word for joy, so that we can all reach that common space and share. And I've got a couple acres of camping space and fire pits and some trails, and just the channel is basically the evolution of it. And all the different cool things that take place when you're building a fire pit and what it takes to build a fire pit, and sowing grass and reclaiming, because a lot of the land here was honeysuckle. And so it was invasive. And so we took a skid loader to it, and we were able to convert and do it in a way where we weren't destructive on the land. We were actually removing the honeysuckle more than anything. We didn't take we took a few live large trees, very few trees, probably 5 larger than my wrist, because we went around things and we didn't make straight paths, because nature isn't a straight line. Nature is curves and bends and ways through. And by doing that, we were able to make it so we didn't need to bring down trees. We didn't need to do any of that stuff. We did it all with a skid loader. We didn't need to bring in heavier equipment. We've got really nice gravel roads so that you can get where you need to go. We've got our paths are graveled, a lot of them, so that people who have accessibility needs are aided in their journey to go to places. And we try to make as much as possible within our property accessible that we can, especially for people who are doing it out of their own pocket.
Yeah.
Because accessibility needs get expensive. So we're doing our best. We're doing our best. But
that's amazing. That's not something that you see a whole lot of. Like, I hate to say it, it's not that I don't think it's that most camps don't try to. It's just that it's difficult. It's very difficult to make an area, not even by the standards, but just accessible.
It is. It's really hard because you have to make sure everything's flat. You have to make sure everything's solid. You got to make sure you're not dealing with mud, because you need chairs to be able to go through. You need people with walkers to be able to go through. And that really takes a lot of attention to detail and making sure that you are doing all of those things and spending the extra hours that it takes. Because like I said, we want everybody to go to everything they want to go to. There's only one shrine that is not accessible, unfortunately, and it's Pan.
Well, Pan's got to be difficult, doesn't he?
Well, and if you're in a chair, it's a steep hill. So, because he likes hills and rocky things and that kind of thing. So he's kind of at the bottom of a little holler. But so other than that, and getting the chair up and down the hill, that's the hardest part. But all the other shrines have. Oh, I missed Eris. Sorry. We have a shrine to Eris, and our main fire pit is named Eris, and she objected to being forgotten. Apologize. Not the one you want to piss off. So
try to avoid pissing any of them off. But it happens.
Yeah. However, not all of them start wars.
True.
Yeah. Because they're not invited to a wedding. I mean, that's honestly that's why our fire pit is named Eris, because it's a tribute to her, because she started the Trojan War because she wasn't invited to the wedding. So we make sure that she's at all of our parties. She has a mini shrine at all of our fire pits. Just to keep us safe.
Fair enough. That's kind of awesome, though. That is an extensive list of gods.
We're not even done. We've still got more that we're going to be putting out too, like Hespetus, and there's some others. And the Norse gods have a whole section that's going to be going in, starting with Freya. There's some folks that are of a heathen bent that are going to be working on those. Because my mission is to provide space for this altar and the shrine, but I don't necessarily know how to worship your gods for you.
Do you know what? That's fair. That's a really great way to put it.
Yeah. I don't know how to set the altar right. I just know how to put a piece of cement in front of something so that you can leave them offerings.
Right. Here's a building, here's a statue, here's a thing to put the stuff on. Have fun.
Exactly.
You're on your own after that. I don't know this lady.
Right. Whatever you say to Hecate, it's between you and Hecate.
I'm actually a follower of Hecate. Part of the reason I love her is because she does not tolerate stupid.
No.
Generally speaking.
No. No, she does not. And
Don't put you through your
our
paces,
property
though.
is at a crossroads, and her shrine is at a crossroads inside of our property. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I tell you what, that is one of the hardest things as a follower of Hecate is finding a decent set of crossroads where you're not worried about like a whole bunch of people like stopping and looking at you. Like it wasn't so bad when I lived in the country because, you know, everybody was in bed by midnight.
Right.
Or, you know, the only people out there were, you know, scared of me. I'm telling you what, though, like, you know, those we've all run across. If you do a magical practitioner who's ever done like a nighttime ritual where you have to go out, you will find out that like the ne'er-do-wells are a little scared.
Yeah.
I have accidentally run off a few. Like, did you see that
Good.
girl? Yeah.
Good. They needed that.
They have some sense of self-preservation left. At least most of them do.
Well, they had to stay alive somehow.
I guess. I don't know how.
True story.
Okay, so what other YouTube channels are we talking about?
The other ones are for non-monogamy, that kind of thing. And I have a tech channel. Yeah. Non-mainstream dad is the one for non-monogamy. I haven't published anything in a while. And then Morgan's Maze is my tech channel. And I do stuff on TP-Link and networks and that kind of stuff.
You're just a jack of all trades.
Yeah, I'm a Gemini.
Oh, Lord.
So I do all the things. I have all the personalities.
I'm a Pisces. I fully understand.
Yeah.
Literally all the other zodiacs piled in my bed. Okay, I want to apologize to Morgan Hornman for cutting him off so abruptly because we ended up talking for another half an hour, and I am trying to keep the show between an hour and a half. That really does, it keeps the algorithm happy. When you keep it that size, it keeps you happy. And I have to please the algorithm gods. I have been very bad. So I did have to cut him off. We ended up talking, like I said, for another half an hour about all the really cool events that I want to go to in Indiana. So definitely, if you are in that area, check it out. Grove of the Gods, Morgan Hornman. I'm going to try and put all the links below. He sent me a nice little blurb. So check that out in the description. And if you'd like to pop over to Patreon, where we ended up talking for another, I think half an hour, maybe longer, about the non-monogamy community and sort of the ethics of Pan, which I actually found to be quite an interesting and deep conversation. You know, we stand here, so come and check that out. And of course, check out all my stuff. Safe travel and much profit to you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Shameless Self-Promotion right here in Madame Tortuga's Lounge, hosted by Dottie the Psychic. If you'd like to hear more of this interview and maybe help out, support the channel or whatnot, you can totally go to Patreon.com/DOTTIE the Psychic. And if you'd like to see what other craziness I'm into, check out DOTTIEthepsychic.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.